direct object and indirect object in English grammar explained with illustrative examples. Object is the recipient of an action in a sentence. It receives the actions performed by the subject through the verb either directly or indirectly, hence it is referred to as object of the verb. As a recipient of the actions performed by the subject of a sentence, objects are grouped into two main types, namely, direct object, and indirect object. Direct object. Direct object is the object that receives the actions performed by the subject of a sentence through the verb. It is the element of structure in a sentence that is directly influenced or affected by the actions carried out by the subject. Take for example, Matthew kicked the ball. From the example above, we can see that the subject, Matthew, performs an action on the ball, which is the action of kicking. The ball is the element of structure in the sentence which is directly affected by the action of kick, and so it is regarded as the direct object. An object that is directly affected by the subject of a sentence is a direct object. Other examples include, I boiled a water. Mercy broke the glass. The school board of advisors rejected the bill. My friend washed the car. Indirect object. Indirect object is a type of object that is not directly affected by the actions of the subject of a sentence. It does get affected by the subject but not through a direct means, as is the case of a direct object. An indirect object receives the direct object which is directly affected by the subject. That is, the direct object that is directly affected by the actions of the subject is received by the indirect object in a sentence. Take for example, I gave Matthew a new pen. The nearness of the noun, Matthew, to the verb in the sentence will trick many into thinking that Matthew is a direct object in the sentence, but that is not the case. Rather, Matthew is the indirect object of the sentence. Here is how. Matthew, in the example, is the one who receives a new pen, which makes a new pen the direct object. The logic behind this is that before the subject, I, gave a new pen to Matthew, it must have picked up the pen from somewhere, say a table or a drawer. That first contact makes the new pen the direct object of the sentence because it has been affected by the action of pick. After the pen was picked up, it was then transferred or given to Matthew. If you can recall, I defined indirect object as the one who receives the direct object in a sentence, and since Matthew is the one who receives the direct object a new pen in the sentence, he becomes the indirect object. Other examples include, John bought Mary a cupcake. Akira painted me a Dragon Ball action figure. Dexter made her a stuffed bear. The teacher gave Peter a piece of advice. Pro tip for identifying indirect objects. One way to identify indirect objects in a sentence is to first of all, spot two nouns or nominal elements in the sentence besides the subject. Next, reverse the order of the first noun or nominal element with the second one, and add the preposition to before the original first noun after the subject. Sounds hazy? Here's an example to illustrate. Mike gave Mary a nice bouquet. The two nouns or nominal elements we can identify in the sentence apart from the subject, which is Mike, are Mary and a nice bouquet. Next, we substitute Mary for a new bouquet in the sentence and then add the preposition to before Mary. Mike gave a nice bouquet to Mary. Now we can easily identify which of the two is the direct object and which one is the indirect object. The object closest to the verb in this new structure is the direct object and the one farthest from it is the indirect object. Another pro tip you can apply in identifying indirect objects is to keep in mind that most indirect objects are animate objects, meaning they can be humans or other living organisms, while direct objects are mostly inanimate objects. So direct objects are objects that receive the actions of the subject of a sentence directly as objects of the verb, while indirect objects are objects that receive the direct objects which are directly affected by the subject of a sentence. Understanding the difference between direct and indirect objects will better inform you on how to use them in writing or conversations to achieve coherence. See you soon.